A Russian woman married a Canadian man, and they lived happily in Toronto. However, the woman wasn't very proficient in English, which didn't pose a problem at home since her husband spoke fluent Russian. The real challenge arose when she needed to buy groceries. The first time she went to the butcher to buy chicken legs, she had no idea how to ask for them. In desperation, she clucked like a chicken and lifted her skirt to show her thighs. The butcher immediately understood and handed her the chicken legs. The next time, she needed chicken breasts. Again, unsure how to ask, she clucked like a chicken and unbuttoned her blouse. The butcher, catching on, gave her the chicken breasts. The following week, she wanted a leg of lamb. She got down on all fours, made a bah sound, and pointed to her leg. The butcher, understanding the gesture, quickly gave her the leg of lamb. Finally, she needed sausages. She thought long and hard about how to describe them. Then it came to her. She decided to take her husband with her. An old lady went to the store to buy food for her dog. At the checkout, the clerk said, "I'm sorry, ma'am, but the store manager heard that many old ladies on limited incomes buy dog food and end up eating it themselves. We now have a policy. If you want to buy dog food, you have to show us your dog." Annoyed, the lady went home, got her faithful Fido, and returned to the store, where they sold her the dog food without question. The next day, she returned to buy cat food. Once again, she was met with the same objection. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but the manager heard that many old ladies on limited incomes buy cat food and eat it themselves. Now we have a policy. If you want to buy cat food, you have to show us your cat." Frustrated, the woman went home, got her precious Fluffy, and returned to the store, where she was sold the cat food without further incident. The next day, the lady walked straight up to the cashier with a box in her hand. "Put your hand in this box," she told the puzzled clerk. "What's in it?" the clerk asked. "Just put your hand in here," the lady insisted. "No way. There's probably something in there that will bite me." "Nothing will bite you, I promise." Reluctantly, the clerk put her hand in the box, felt the contents, pulled them out, and screamed. Smiling, the old lady asked, "Now, may I please buy some toilet paper?" "Mummy," asks Susie, "why do you always cut the ends off the sausages before you put them in the pan?" "Oh, that's just the way my mother always did it. You'll have to ask her." The next time Susie visits her grandmother, she asks, "Granny, why do you and Mummy cut the ends off the sausages before you put them in the pan?" "Well," says Granny, "that's just the way my mother always did it. You'll have to ask her." So the next time Susie visits her slightly senile great-grandmother at the nursing home, she asks, "Great Granny, why do you and Granny and Mummy always cut the ends off the sausages before you put them in the pan?" Great Granny looks at her with a puzzled expression and says, "Oh no, are they still using that tiny frying pan?" A middle-aged woman walked into her gynecologist's office looking sheepish. "Come on now," coaxed the doctor. "You've been seeing me for years. There's nothing you can't tell me." The woman hesitated. "Well, this is kind of strange. Let me be the judge of that," the doctor reassured her. "Well," she began, "yesterday morning I went to the bathroom and I heard a plink, plink, plink in the toilet. When I looked down, the water was full of pennies." "I see," said the doctor, trying not to smile. "That afternoon I went again, and there were nickels in the bowl." "Uh-huh," the doctor responded. "That night," she continued, "there were dimes. And this morning there were quarters. I'm really scared, doctor. What's wrong with me?" The gynecologist smiled, putting a comforting hand on her shoulder. There, don't be scared. You're simply going through the change." By the time John pulled into the little town, every hotel room was taken. "You've got to have a room somewhere," he pleaded, "or just a bed, I don't care where." "Well, I do have a double room with one occupant," admitted the manager, "and he might be glad to split the cost. But to tell you the truth, he snores so loudly that people in adjoining rooms have complained in the past. I'm not sure it'd be worth it to you." "No problem," the tired traveler assured him. "I'll take it." The next morning, John came down to breakfast bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. The manager was impressed. "No problem with the other guy snoring, then?" "Nope, I shut him up in no time." "How'd you manage that?" "He was already in bed, snoring away. When I came in the room," John said, I went over, gave him a kiss on the cheek, and said, "Good night, beautiful," and he sat up all night watching me. A young woman had a habit of doing naked gymnastics in the living room in the afternoon. One day, she decided to try a split, thereby creating a vacuum that sucked her firmly to the tile floor. In spite of all her attempts, she couldn't free herself and had to wait for her husband to come home. When he got there, he pulled as hard as he could, too, but she remained completely stuck. So they decided to call the doctor. The doctor came, but couldn't get her off the floor either, so he suggested calling a tiler. The tiler came and quickly offered a solution. "We have to break the tiles she's on." "No way," the husband yelled. "Those tiles are $100 apiece. There must be another way." "Well," said the tiler, "you could kiss and caress her all over her body." "Will that free her?" the husband wondered. "No, but then we can slide her into the kitchen, where your tiles are only $2.50 apiece." An Italian guy is out picking up women in Rome. While at his favorite bar, he manages to attract one rather attractive-looking blonde. They go back to his place, and sure enough, they go at it. After a long while, he climaxes. Then he rolls over, lights up a cigarette, and asks her, "So, you finished?" After a short pause, she replies, "No." Surprised, but pleasantly, he puts out his cigarette, rolls back on top of her, and has his way with her again, this time lasting even longer than the first. Again, he rolls over, lights a cigarette, and asks, "So, you finished?" And again, after a short pause, she just says, "No." Stunned, but still acting reflexively on his macho pride, he once again puts out the cigarette and entertains his companion du jour. This time, with all the strength he can muster up, he barely manages to end the task, but he does, after expending quite a lot of time and energy. Barely able to roll over, he reaches for his cigarette, lights it again, and then asks tiredly, "So, you finished?" "No, I'm Swedish." "Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. I have been with a loose girl." The priest asks, "Is that you, little Joey Pagano?" "Yes, Father, it is. And who was the girl you were with?" "I can't tell you, Father. I don't want to ruin her reputation." "Well, Joey, I'm sure to find out her name sooner or later, so you may as well tell me now. Was it Tina Minetti?" "I cannot say." "Was it Teresa Mazzarelli?" "I'll never tell." "Was it Nina Capelli?" "I'm sorry, but I cannot name her." "Was it Kathy Piriano?" "My lips are sealed, Father." "Well then, was it Rosa D'Angelo?" "Please, Father, I cannot tell you." The priest sighs in frustration. "You're very tight-lipped, and I admire that. But you've sinned and have to atone. You cannot be an altar boy now for 4 months. Now you go and behave yourself." Joey walks back to his pew, and his friend Franco slides over and whispers, "What did you get?" 4 months vacation and 5 excellent leads. Edit. Thank you for the awards and people indicating they enjoyed it. This sub has made me laugh with remixes, so I thought I would try and do the same for others. "Hi, my name is Gertrude," says the lady to the man next to her on the airplane. "It's so nice to meet you. I'm flying to New York for my grandson's 3rd birthday. I'm so excited. I remember when he was just a little pumpkin, and now he's already 3. It's really hard to believe. He's the most adorable thing you've ever seen. You know what? Hold on, I think I might have a picture on me. Let me take a look in my purse. Yes, here it is. Just look at him. Isn't he adorable? Do you see his dimple on his left cheek? Simply adorable? I could stare at his picture all day. Oh my, and you should hear him on the phone. He is just the cutest. He says to me in the cutest voice, 'Hi, Grandma.' It just gets me all teary-eyed." After what seemed like 2 hours for the poor man sitting next to her, Gertrude realized that perhaps she was talking a bit too much. "You know, I feel terrible. Here I am just talking and talking without letting you get in a word edgewise. Tell me, what do you think about my grandson?" A man returned to the U.S. after a trip abroad feeling very ill. He goes to see his doctor and is immediately rushed to the hospital to undergo a barrage of extensive tests. He's negative for COVID, Ebola, malaria, and pretty much all the recognizable infectious diseases. The man wakes up after the tests in a private room at the hospital, and the phone by his bed rings. "This is your doctor. We've got the results back from your battery of tests, and we've found you have an extremely nasty and rare virus that is highly contagious and is frequently fatal." "Oh my gosh," cries the man. He's in a panic now. What are you going to do, doctor? Well, we're going to put you on a diet of pizzas, pancakes, and quesadillas. Will that cure me? Asked the man hopefully. The doctor replied, No, but it's the only food we can slide under the door. A man returned to the U.S. after a trip abroad feeling very ill. He goes to see his doctor and is immediately rushed to the hospital to undergo a barrage of extensive tests. He's negative for COVID, Ebola, malaria, and pretty much all the recognizable infectious diseases. The man wakes up after the tests in a private room at the hospital, and the phone by his bed rings. This is your doctor. We've got the results back from your battery of tests, and we've found you have an extremely nasty and rare virus that is highly contagious and is frequently fatal. Oh my gosh, cries the man. He's in a panic now. What are you going to do, doctor? Well, we're going to put you on a diet of pizzas, pancakes, and quesadillas. Will that cure me? Asked the man hopefully. The doctor replied, No, but it's the only food we can slide under the door. One evening, after an office party, a man offered to drive his slightly tipsy secretary home. Knowing his wife's jealous nature, he decided it was best not to mention the little favor. Later that night, he was driving his wife to a fancy restaurant when, out of the corner of his eye, he spotted something under the passenger seat. A stiletto-heeled shoe. His blood ran cold. Panicked, he quickly waited for a moment when his wife wasn't looking, snatched the incriminating shoe, and hurled it out of the window. Relieved, he exhaled. Crisis averted. The rest of the drive went smoothly until they arrived at the restaurant. As they stepped out of the car, his wife suddenly stopped, frowning. That's strange, she muttered, glancing down. Then she looked up at him, a hint of irritation in her voice. Have you seen my other shoe? Some people embrace aging with grace, while others fight it every step of the way. Andy's wife, Linda, was firmly in the second camp. Determined to defy the passage of time, she went on a shopping spree and returned home with an entire arsenal of expensive miracle beauty products, each one promising to turn back the clock. After spending nearly an hour in front of the mirror, dabbing, patting, and blending, she finally admired her reflection. Flawless. Feeling confident, she turned to Andy, who was casually flipping through the newspaper. Darling, she purred, striking a pose, be honest, if you didn't know me, what age would you say I am? Andy glanced up and studied her carefully. Well, he said thoughtfully, judging by your skin, I'd say 20. Your hair? 18. And your figure? Maybe 25. Linda beamed. Oh, you flatterer! She gushed, ready to shower him with affection. But just as she leaned in, Andy held up a hand. Whoa, hold on there, sweetheart, he said. I haven't added them up yet. A girl sees her mother showering. She sees her tits and asks, Mom, what is that on your chest? The mother says, Nothing important, sweetie. You'll get them, too, when you're older. Later in the day, she sees her father showering. She sees her dad's dick and asks, What's that between your legs, Dad? The father says, I can't tell you right now. The girl asks, Will I get it when I'm older? The father replies, You can get it now if you stay quiet. An Irish couple took in an 18-year-old girl as a lodger. She asked if she could have a bath, but the woman of the house told her they didn't have a bath. Although if she wanted to, she could use a tin bath in front of the fire. Monday's the best night when my husband goes out to darts, she said. The girl agreed to have a bath the following Monday. After her husband had gone to the pub for his darts match, the woman filled the bath and watched the girl get undressed. She was surprised to see that the lass didn't have any hair down there. She mentioned this to her husband when he came home. He didn't believe her, so she said, Next Monday, when you go to darts, leave a little early and wait in the back garden. I'll leave a gap in the curtains so you can see for yourself. So the following Monday, while the girl again got undressed, the wife asked, Do you shave? No, replied the girl. I've just never grown any hair down there. Do you have hair? Oh, yes, said the woman. And she pulled up her nightdress and showed the girl that she was really generously endowed in the hair department, very generously indeed. The girl finished her bath and went to bed. Later that night, when the husband came in, the wife asked him, Did you see it? "Yes," he said, "but why did you have to show her yours?" "Why ever are you worried about that?" she said. "You've seen it often enough before." "I know," he said, "but the entire dart team hadn't." An old country preacher had a teenage son, and it was getting time the boys should give some thought to choosing a profession. Like many young men his age, the boy didn't really know what he wanted to do, and he didn't seem too concerned about it. One day, while the boy was away at school, his father decided to try an experiment. He went into the boy's room and placed on his study table 4 objects. 1. A Bible. 2. A silver dollar. 3. A bottle of whiskey. 4. A Playboy magazine. "I'll just hide behind the door," the old preacher said to himself. "When he comes home from school today, I'll see which object he picks up. If it's the Bible, he's going to be a preacher like me, and what a blessing that would be. If he picks up the dollar, he's going to be a businessman, and that would be okay too. But if he picks up the bottle, he's going to be a no-good drunken bum, and Lord, what a shame that would be. And worst of all, if he picks up that magazine, he's going to be a skirt-chasing womanizer." The old man waited anxiously and soon heard his son's footsteps as he entered the house whistling and heading for his room. The boy tossed his books on the bed, and as he turned to leave the room, he spotted the objects on the table. With curiosity in his eye, he walked over to inspect them. Finally, he picked up the Bible and placed it under his arm. He picked up the silver dollar and dropped it into his pocket. He uncorked the bottle and took a big drink while he admired the magazine's centerfold. "Lord have mercy," the old preacher disgustedly whispered. "He's going to run for Congress." A young man met a beautiful girl and agreed to spend the night with her for $500. So they did. Before he left, he told her that he did not have any cash with him, but that he would have his secretary write a check and mail it to her, calling the payment rent for apartment. On the way to his office, he regretted it and decided it wasn't worth the price. So he had his secretary send a check for $250 and enclosed the following note. "Dear Madam, enclosed find a check in the amount of $250 for rent of your apartment. I am not sending the amount agreed upon because when I rented the apartment, I was under the impression that it had never been occupied, that there was plenty of heat, that it was small enough to make me cozy and feel at home. Last night, however, I found it had been previously occupied, that there was no heat, and it was entirely too large." Upon receipt of the note, the girl immediately returned the check for $250 with the following note. "Dear Sir, first of all, I cannot understand how you expect a beautiful apartment to remain unoccupied indefinitely. As for the heat, there is heat if you know how to turn it on. Regarding the space, the apartment is indeed of regular size, but if you don't have enough furniture to fill it, please don't blame the landlady. Please be so kind as to send a check for the full amount of $500, or I'll be forced to contact your current landlady." Two rednecks are out hunting when they come across a massive hole in the ground. They stare at it, impressed by its size. The first hunter says, "Wow, that's some hole. Can't even see the bottom. I wonder how deep it is." The second hunter replies, "I don't know. Let's throw something in and see how long it takes to hit bottom." The first hunter looks around and says, "There's an old gearbox over there. Let's throw that in." They haul it over, count to 3, and toss it in the hole. As they stand there listening for the sound of it hitting the bottom, they suddenly hear rustling behind them. They turn around to see a goat running full speed, charging right at the hole. Without missing a beat, the goat leaps headfirst into the hole. The two hunters stare at each other, then back into the hole, trying to figure out what just happened. An old farmer walks up, wiping his hands. "Say, fellas," he asks, "did you happen to see my goat around here?" The first hunter says, "Funny you should ask. Just a minute ago, a goat came flying out of the bushes doing about 100 miles an hour and jumped right into this hole." The farmer scratches his head and replies, "Well, that's impossible. I had him chained to that old gearbox." In the dead of night, a bootneck is driving from Plymouth to London, and a para is driving from London to Plymouth. The roads are empty, and they collide head-on, both cars flying off in opposite directions. The bootneck, shaken but alive, climbs out of his car and looks around at the wreckage. He says to himself, "Man, I'm really lucky to be alive." The para does the same, surveying his destroyed car, and mutters, "I can't believe I survived this wreck." The bootneck, feeling philosophical, walks over to the para. "Hey man, I think this is a sign from God that we should put aside our differences and be friends instead of enemies." The para pauses, then nods. "You know what? You're absolutely right. We should be friends." Feeling a bit of camaraderie, the bootneck says, "Well, I'm going to see what else survived this wreck." He opens the boot of his car and pulls out an unopened bottle of Pusser's rum. "This," he declares, "is a sign from God that we should toast to our new friendship." The peregrine grabs the bottle and starts drinking. He downs almost half before handing it back to the bootneck. "That was good. Your turn." The bootneck screws the cap back on and says, "Nah, I think I'll wait for the cops to arrive." A man is sitting on a plane ready for takeoff when another man with a dog sits next to him. The dog sits between them, and the first man is curious. The second man notices and says, "Don't worry about Rover. He's a sniffer dog, the best there is. I'll show you once we're airborne." After the plane takes off and levels out, the handler turns to the man and says, "Watch this." He commands the dog, "Rover, search." The dog jumps down, walks along the aisle, and sits next to a woman for a few seconds before returning to its seat and placing one paw on the handler's arm. "Good boy," the handler says, then turns to the first man. "That woman is carrying marijuana, so I'll make a note of her seat number to hand over to the authorities when we land." "Wow, that's impressive," replies the first man. The handler sends Rover out again. The dog sniffs around, sits beside a man for a moment, then returns to the handler and places both paws on his arm. "That man is carrying cocaine," says the handler. "Noted his seat number as well." The first man is amazed. "This is incredible." The handler sends the dog out again. Rover moves up and down the aisle, sniffing at various passengers. Eventually, the dog sits next to someone, then runs back, jumps into the seat, and to the first man's shock, starts to poop everywhere. The first man is horrified and asks, "What's going on?" The handler, looking very nervous, says, "He just found a bomb." A couple had two young boys, ages 8 and 10, who were always up to mischief. If anything troublesome happened in town, their parents were certain their sons were behind it. One day the boy's mother heard about a clergyman in town who was known for disciplining children, so she asked if he could speak to her sons. The clergyman agreed, but requested to see them separately. So the mother sent her 8-year-old first, with the older boy scheduled for the afternoon. The clergyman, a tall man with a booming voice, sat the younger boy down and asked, "Where is God?" The boy froze, wide-eyed and speechless. The clergyman repeated the question, his tone growing firmer. "Where is God?" The boy still said nothing. Now, getting serious, the clergyman raised his voice and shook a finger in the boy's face, shouting, "Where is God?" The boy screamed in terror and dashed out of the room, running straight home and hiding in his wardrobe. His older brother found him a few minutes later, breathless and wide-eyed. "What happened?" the older brother asked. Gasping, the younger brother whispered, "We're in big trouble. God's missing, and they think we did it." An attorney arrived home late after a tough day. He had been trying to get a stay of execution for a client who was scheduled to be hanged at midnight. Despite his best efforts, his plea to the governor for clemency had been denied, and he was feeling utterly defeated. As soon as he stepped through the door, his wife immediately launched into her usual routine. "What time do you call this? Where have you been? Dinner's cold and I'm not reheating it." The complaints went on and on. Too exhausted to respond, he poured himself a shot of whiskey and headed for a long, hot bath, with her sarcastic remarks trailing behind him. While he was soaking in the tub, the phone rang. His wife answered, and the caller informed her that her husband's client, James Wright, had been granted a stay of execution. Wright would not be hanged that night. Realizing how terrible his day must have been, she rushed upstairs to share the good news. As she opened the bathroom door, she was met with the sight of her husband bent over, naked, drying his legs and feet. "They're not hanging right tonight," she said, to which he spun around and screamed, "For the love of God, woman, can't you ever just let me have a moment's peace?" There he was on the side of the highway, sweating under the afternoon sun, struggling to change a stubborn flat tire. His face was flushed, his hands were covered in grease, and his once white shirt now looked like an abstract painting of smudges and sweat. His tie hung loose, a casualty of his increasing frustration. Standing beside him was his wife, Claire, immaculate as always, not a hair out of place, her crisp blouse untouched by the grime of the situation. But what she lacked in physical involvement, she made up for in guidance. "You're turning it the wrong way," she insisted. "I think that Jack should go a little more to the left." "Are you sure that's tight enough? It doesn't look tight enough." Jake exhaled sharply and wiped his forehead, only to smear more grease across his face. Just then, a kind-hearted motorist pulled over and stepped out. "Hey there," the stranger said. "Looks like you're having some trouble. I've changed plenty of tires. Maybe I can lend a hand." Jake looked up, eyes filled with exhaustion and silent desperation. Then he motioned toward his wife. "You sure can," he said, his voice heavy with defeat. "My wife is an expert too. If you could just do all the arguing with her about how this tire should be changed, I'll focus on getting the job done." Mary sat across from the doctor, wringing her hands. "Doctor, I don't know what to do. My husband's temper is out of control. Every day he just snaps over the smallest things. It's really starting to scare me." The doctor nodded sympathetically. "I see. How bad does it get?" "Well," she sighed. "Yesterday, I accidentally left a spoon in the sink, and you'd think I'd set the house on fire. The day before, he got mad because the remote was on the coffee table instead of the armrest. It's like living with a ticking time bomb." The doctor leaned back in his chair, stroking his chin. "I think I have just the cure for that." Mary sat up eagerly. "Really? What is it?" The doctor smiled. "It's simple. The next time your husband starts getting angry, pour yourself a glass of water. Take a sip and start swishing it around in your mouth. Keep swishing and don't swallow until he either calms down, leaves the room, or goes to bed." Mary blinked. "That's it? Just water?" "Just water," the doctor assured her. 2 weeks later, Mary returned to the clinic looking fresh, relaxed, and almost glowing. "Doctor, you are a genius," she gushed. "Every time my husband started getting angry, I swished with water. I swished, and, like magic, he calmed right down. No yelling, no fighting, no broken dishes. How does a simple glass of water do that?" The doctor chuckled. "The water itself does nothing. It's having to keep your mouth shut that does the trick." John had always struggled to remember important dates, especially his wife Sarah's birthday and their anniversary. After years of forgetting, followed by nights spent sleeping on the couch, he finally came up with a foolproof plan. He opened an account with a florist, provided them with the special dates, and arranged for flowers to be delivered every year like clockwork. Each bouquet would arrive with a heartfelt note signed, "Your loving husband." It was perfect. No more last-minute panic. No more icy glares from Sarah, just effortless romance. And for a while, it worked beautifully. Every year, Sarah's eyes would light up when the flowers arrived. "Oh, John," she would sigh, hugging him. "You're so thoughtful." John would smile proudly, secretly relieved that he'd outsmarted his own forgetfulness. But then, one evening, John walked through the front door, kissed Sarah on the cheek, and casually remarked, "Nice flowers, honey. Where'd you get them?" "Tim, hello, Susan. Any news from Superman or Black Widow?" Susan: "Alas, no. They can't be found anywhere. Although, as expected, this UFO went viral pretty quickly. We'd love to hear their reactions." Tim: "UFO?" Susan: "Unrestrained flying object." Tim: "There's definitely some heated debate between fans online." Susan: "Oh, absolutely. From Super Crash or Super Crush to Superman versus Superwoman, and even love is in the air until it all comes crashing down." Tim: "I heard Superman's lawyer requested a restraining order." Susan: "Right, Black Widow shouldn't come within 100 miles of him." Tim: "100 miles? That's going a bit far, isn't it?" Susan: "Not really, considering his supervision." Tim: "Any updates from the FAA?" Susan: They're recommending a bitching Betty to warn Superman of any overloads and a failsafe between the optical and hydraulic systems. Tim, any comments from Superman's or Black Widow's teammates? Susan, we're working on it, but we already have a couple of interesting reactions. From Spider-Man, I'm sure Black Widow had no intention of catching him in her web. And, believe it or not, we also got a comment from Lois Lane herself. Tim, oh really? What did she have to say? Susan, I still believe he's the nicest guy on Earth, but yes, he does tend to react a little too quickly and too rigidly when dealing with certain subjects.